In this video, I'll talk about maybe taking profit earlier than you expected, and we'll talk about exits in some of your positions. Now, on every trade we do, we typically plan our trade. And I say typically because sometimes we see a setup and we don't know the exact exit, but we know the range of exit, right? So this type of trade, because of what was happening in the market, all alts were dipping. We were buying on these downtrends here, and we bought here. For some reason, Coinigy is not showing me the entries. I don't know why, but you see there's an exit here from a time where we bought down here and we exited up here, right? So here we bought a position, two positions here. We bought one here and then one a little bit lower, and so here's kind of the way to look at what's happening right now. And why, instead of, we planned our original exit right around here. Okay, let me put another arrow up there just so I can show. So we planned our exit like right around, well, our first exit was here, and then our second exit was here. So we planned our first exit here, and actually here is where we have our first exit, and then we planned another exit just above that, and then we have one more exit here. So, you know, we sometimes do two positions, three exit. It all depends on kind of the way we look at the chart and everything else, right? So we're looking to exit right around here, right in the middle of this kind of value area, and then right below this area, okay? So, but one of the things is that we plan these exits, we set them up, but at the same time, when I go back, we do check on our positions. It's not like we just kind of just say, hey, the market's great, everything's working. No, we check on our positions. You should do that. So here's what here's where we're looking to probably take profit early, right? So we entered here. We're looking to maybe take profit right here, maybe here. And this all depends on how this plays out here in the next hour or so. And we could be completely wrong here too, but I like taking profit. So here's what we're looking at basically. Now, if you look at a longer time scale, right? This is what you always should do, okay? Yeah, awesome looking chart, huh? So let's go here. So you'll see from a value perspective of what a long-term buyer would look at from this on this asset. It just hit this exchange here, so it's really hard to say from a true value, but from the charting history, and this is where you'd want to go to another exchange if it was on another exchange, but from a charting history, we're kind of in the middle of what you would consider a value area, meaning that a lot of the trading's gone on right here, so we've bought below a value area. So you could say maybe for a longer swing, maybe 1 or 2 weeks or less, we're probably safe to exit in this target area, right? Safe. The probability of us exiting based on the price action of this chart is on our side based on the price action of this chart. But we're also in a downtrend, and that downtrend, previous downtrend, has gone down before, right? It's gone down to the tune of, I don't know, 40%. So we've got a 40% downside here, right? So we don't want to be stopped out of a winning trade at this point in time to a possible 40% downturn that this asset has done before, right? So this is why you want to look at the longer term view, because one of the things that moves markets is the longer term investor, right? Smart money, whatever you want to call it, the longer term investor moves markets. So as we look at the 4 hour, we're going to see the same thing, obviously. And this is where you really got to look and say, okay, is taking profit now? You see, if we would have looked a little bit sooner, we probably could have maximized some of our profit. Because right now, if we exit, we're looking at just around probably, what, 4 or 5%, which is much less than we typically make. But once again, this is about protecting your capital and choosing the right exit depending on what the market's telling you, right? So the other way to look at this, and I was going to draw lines and try to explain all that, and I visualize all this stuff in my head. So a lot of the trend lines, the value lines, and everything else, I'll do videos like that, and I'm sure on training and stuff I'll cover that. But right now, the main thing you want to look at is see where has there been activity of trading on this asset at this range before. So there's been some activity here, and then it bounced up, right? There's been some activity below, right? and it stayed there. And that's where you want to look at what's the average time it stayed there, right? Stayed there for 13 days or so, right? So for 13 days, the buyers and sellers were okay with this price level. And then suddenly, for whatever reason, the buyer said this is worth way more, right? And then for let's go above the above price range and say, well, for roughly 43 days, the buyers said that the market and the buyers and sellers kind of agreed that this price range, right, this 37% price range was the fair market value of this asset. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. We're talking about singles right now, but it doesn't matter. We're just talking about what does the price action tell us, right? That's what we're talking about. So, and we're on the 4-hour time frame. Let's go back to the 1 hour. So this is where you kind of want to make this assessment. You want to look at this, and this is a per chart thing. You see, we're dipping for the hour. So one of the things here's the scenario for us to actually get the exits that we desire. Okay, you have to think about scenarios and probabilities. Okay, it's traded in this range very a small amount, and when it traded in this range right here, okay, when it traded in this range, it was rejected quickly. See how it was rejected to the downside? Meaning that, and it was rejected really hard up here. So it tried to get up here, and then it was rejected very hard. And it was rejected very hard by basically the seller saying, no, I want to take profits. It's not going to be worth more, is the way to look at it. And the sellers drove the price all the way down here. Sellers were in control, right? And then the buyer said, oh, there's a tremendous value here. This is a tremendous value. And then the sellers drove it up, right? So what we're looking at right now on this downtrend, okay, here's where you would analyze where we're at right now. This is why I chose to do this video, because it's occurring right now, is that you can do one of two things, right? You have a choice at this point in time. You can exit with a 3-4% profit or so right now. Just do an order for, you can do a limit sell order right now if you want to, or even do a market order if you really wanted to. Exit your full position now, or exit some of your position now to protect some of your capital, which is probably what we'll end up doing. Exit your position, because what you're looking for right now, what the scenario might happen here is that this will go into a downtrend and it'll retrace maybe half, maybe it'll retrace full, or maybe it'll go back down here. If it goes down here, it's already broke your purchase point. It's already broke this support area, right? So you're asking for the market, right, for the buyers once again, and let's say it's go down to this level. You're asking for the buyers once again to say that this is a value and not think that, hey, this is going to go lower, right? It's at near bottom of the chart, but it has traded down below before. But when it gets to this point, how long is it going to trade in this range is the other thing. And then you have to make up at least 10%, right? And another, now this is crypto, so this can happen at this given time in the market. So, and then another 12, you know, you have to make up, it's not 30%, but you have to make up more than 30% at that point in time. A price action. Now you can see this happened in 1 hour. I mean, in 1 hour, it made up 25%. A price action right there, and then it continued to go up. So this can happen, right? So that's one scenario. The other scenario you can look at is it going to retrace half, right? I'm talking generalities here, right? This doesn't always happen, and so the other thing you can do is that you can, and let me scroll in here. There you're looking at 2% profit, which is pretty good. To me, it's in the green, so it's a green trade. Now you see we're starting to maybe trend up. This is where you might want to look at the 15-minute, and you might want to look at the 5-minute to kind of see some rejection. So you're trading on the hour, but then you want to look at 5-minute to see some rejection. And I don't see any rejection yet. So when we go back to the hour, what you can plan for here is that if it hits this price level, and I would only say, and I'd almost say this, and this is where, once again, if you're watching this trade this much, it's how much do you want to watch a trade, right? How many trades do you have? How much do you want to watch a trade? And when you look at this here, if it hits this level, now you see it's starting to maybe trend back up, right? But this here obviously shows that the last hour, the sellers maintain control of the market, right? They push the price up, but they maintain control. Now, one of the things you can do, obviously, is you can kind of see what's going on with manipulation. You can look at the order book, right? You can kind of get a feel of like what's happening. Where is there a resistance line right here at 1171, right? So you can look here. There's a kind of and this is what's on there. This can change at a second, so this is meaningless, but 1114 or so, 1141, 1116. So what you're looking for is, it's obvious right here that there's a, I don't know how much that is, 2.9 BTC, 2.8 BTC at 1199. That is basically a sell wall, right? That people are jumping ahead and it's moving the price down, right? Now that happens in a lot of these charts. People put that up to drive the price down so that they can acquire, and then it's gonna rise up, right? So, but take all that out, right? Take the real-time nature of it out, everything else. Once again, how much do you want to actually baby one of your trades, right? How much do you want to watch one of your trades? We have, I don't know how many trades right now, and I'm not going to sit here and watch one trade. We look at this stuff quick, right? Analyze the chart quick. Usually we pull up maybe one of the charting that we've already done, and we look at it and say, oh, and that's what I saw right away. I said, this is something we probably need to exit right away. And usually I would have just exited instead of doing this video. So I would have usually exited half of our position and then readjusted these exits. And you know what happens? I'd say about half the time that we do that, we exit here, or I exit here, it goes up and it meets our exits. Half the time that happens. I don't care. I want to protect my capital, and I like green trades. So that's the way you need to look at it. So what concerned me, and I know I'm kind of making my way down a windy river here, but what concerned me really here was that it hasn't really traded in this range much. So this is the where we bought is really the support area, right? See, my expectation on this buying of this dip here, right? My expectation, or what I wanted to see from the market, right? What I wanted to see from the buyers was a overreaction immediately, like this. That's what I wanted to see. So if I would have saw that, then it would have, then if I would have saw even like a 15% reaction to the buyers immediately, right? Then I would have expected maybe like a 6 or 7% retracement, and then we'd have a new base built, and then maybe another ride up, right? That was my expectation. It would have been great to have an expectation, or to see like a 19 or 20% reaction by the buyers, right? But we didn't get that, did we? What we got from all of this downtrend here, and we'll take the high. It's the other thing. Many people take the close. I take the highest price. You should take the highest price. That's where someone bought. Someone bought there. Someone did. I don't know who, but someone. 27% downside. A 27% downside over the course of 21 hours. And the buyers kind of said, yeah, it's kind of worth 8% more. Usually, you see a little bit more stronger reaction when something drops 27%. Now, it's all relative too, right? Because obviously, it's been going down for so long. But that's a pretty drastic move, right? Within a day, right? That much of a decline. You could also look at this too as in another psychological way and say that maybe many of the buyers or many of the people that like this project haven't noticed yet. They haven't realized this yet. And it's only been 14 hours, right? So that's enough for 2 markets, 3 markets. When I say markets, you have to think like this. You have to think like you've got the North American, South American market. You've got the European it's really 4 markets, but you've got the European market, you've got what I consider, and I'm not, look, if you're from these places, I'm not mashing you up together, okay? But I think about these in time zones, okay? So let's do this. So not that I'm worried about offending anybody. It's more of this, okay? Look at the market time zones. I'm going on so many tangents with this video. I had no plan to go here. So hopefully this is of value. So this is one market time zone. This is another market time zone. This is another market time zone. I call this, I don't know if anybody lives over here in Russia. I'm sure there's people that live in the former Soviet Union, Russia. I'm sure there's people that live there, in the colder areas and stuff. And I know it's not just Russia. Anyways, so I don't have Australia because I can't put any more times. Otherwise, I'd have Australia. And I don't have anything in Africa because I can't put any more times. So I basically try to cover the major market areas. You've got the major markets in North America. I don't have Canada because the time zones are kind of the same. And then South America. And then you've got this major market and then this major market. And what I mean by major market is that when people are up, when people can check their phones, when people can check the prices, when people can buy stuff, that's what you're thinking about. So where are we at right now? Well, right now, it shows kind of my time. It's 8:58 local time, right? It's 6:58 p.m. in Seattle. It's 10 p.m. in New York. It's midnight in Santiago. It's morning in Rome. It's morning in Moscow. So some of the traders are starting to get up. It's morning in Tel Aviv. They're not quite up yet, but they're going to get up here in a little bit. And here it's right around noon over and early morning over in Asia, right? So when we look at market price action and we think about where, once again, I don't like sit here and plan this stuff out. This is what you kind of have to start thinking about, right? So let's look at where we're at, right? Where we're at is who can move on this price action right now, okay? What I mean by that is if you wake up and you see this chart in this state that it's in right now at different time frames, right? The 4 hour, right? The 1 hour, the 1 hour, the 30 minute, the 1 day, right? Gosh, one of these days I'm going to learn how I can make that look really cool on the first click. The 1 day, right? And you can't see it because all these arrows and everything else I have here. So I can remove all this stuff now, right? Now, I'm doing this slow because obviously I'm trying to explain this, right? So I'm doing this slow, but these are just things that I've ingrained into my trading style and ingrained in me becoming a trader, and things that you should think about. So look at this from the perspective. Let's go to the time. I'm in Tel Aviv, right? I'm just getting up to trade. Maybe not quite yet, but let's say I'm just getting up, or I'm in Moscow, right? And I trade signals. What decision am I going to make, right? Same with here. I've been looking at the chart. I'm in Asia. Now, some of the things you should realize with Asia is that with Asia, most likely, most of the traders are going to trade with something like this. So you'd want to look at something like this with Asia. There's a couple other indicators as well, but you'd want to look at something like this with Asia. And if you watch any of the Asian traders, I can never understand them, but I watch their videos sometimes. You'll see the indicators they use, and you'll see the stuff that they use. So you want to look at it from different perspectives, right? Once again, I'm explaining this trade, but I literally don't have the time to do this in every single one of these trades. So, but we have indicators like this up when we want to see different things and everything else, right? So, but I'm sharing with you the thinking behind all this, okay? So, if I've been looking at this chart, I've been up since 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and I'm a trader and I'm trading this, or maybe I'm thinking about day trading this, right? Volume, what's the volume at? Is it trending down? Is it trending up? Where has it been? If I'm just getting up, what does this chart look like? If I've been looking at this chart for the last 4 hours, what am I seeing? Am I going to be a breakout trader, right? The Ichimoku, right? Is it in the cloud? Is it out of the cloud? Where is it at? Where is it trending? It's in the middle of the Bollinger Bands on the 1 hour. What about the 4 hour? The 4 hour is actually more important with the Ichimoku. So you're looking at the 4 hour and saying, okay, where are you at, right? Where are you at in the cloud? Where's that at? You know, the MACD, the RSI, all that stuff, right? You can look at all that stuff if you know all that stuff. Look at it from different angles, right? The decisions I make are instantaneous, or not instantaneous, but near instantaneous, because I've been doing this and I trained myself to do it, right? And so this is where, once again, when you're thinking about, it's always good to take profits, right? So, but when you're thinking about probabilities, what's the probability it can happen, and what's that time frame? I should have mentioned that probably from the beginning, but what's that time frame? Is it going to trend down? And if it's going to trend down, how long? How long is my capital going to be in this trade? Potentially. And will I ever get my capital back? If it does, if it's going to trend up, what's that time frame? And then who in this international 24-hour day market can act on that? And is there a bias towards one of the market actors that like that asset? So what I mean by that is, do you notice at a certain time frame that when the Asian market gets up, or the afternoon trading, right? Afternoon trading action, does the Asian market trade this? Is this something the Asian market talks about? Is this something that Asian traders talk about? These are, like I said, all the things that you can consider and think about. So you'll see here we're starting to trend down. You know what I really should do? I just don't have the time. Otherwise, I would do it. And this video is 22 minutes long. If I ever make a video under 10 minutes, I'm going to be literally amazed. So as you see here, if we go to the, what do I want to do? 15 minutes? Volume's just so low, it's just not even worth watching. But so here, what I was going to say is that I should really just watch this trade play out. And actually, I did. I just paused the video because I got a phone call. And look, all we had to do was have a little patience. And look, we are up now, and we could exit at a, well, we're up actually, entered over here. We're up 8% according to that. We're up 86%. So the price is right there. So right now, yeah, we're up. So we bought around there. So we're up 8.6%. You'll see here it's starting to make its upward climb. And I guess you could say, you know, remember what I said in the beginning of the video, see a strong reaction by the buyers. So once again, I said this before. Sometimes 50% of the time we exit a trade, and what happens, right? It goes, you know, it goes to kind of close to our profit. Now, one of the things to kind of look at here on the hour time frame, that just touched the Bollinger Band, and the top Bollinger Band, and it bounced off it, right? It was rejected there. The other thing to look at here too, this is like advanced stuff, not advanced, but if you got this, and in my training I'll be sharing this, actually how to identify this, but this I don't know how to explain this. I'll just explain it by showing it to you. So I'm stuttering. So see where price was rejected? See that? This, when you see something like that, it means price was rejected. Okay? Now it might bounce over, but it was rejected, right? So if you're kind of planning an exit, wouldn't that have been a good place to plan an exit right there? If you could maybe strategically kind of look at the chart and understand that, right? So let's just talk generally what most people do. Most people do is they'll look at this resistance line here. Support, resistance, whatever you want to call it. I don't care, it doesn't matter. Support, resistance areas, right? Those are resistance areas because price didn't get above that, right? They'll look at this, and I don't say most people, but I'm just saying. That's a support area, right? And you'll see here, that's actually where it's closing right now. I mean, it's 12 after the hour. So this is beginning hour price action. So one of the things I'd look at is volume and see if this is going to continue, and it's not. See, it's actually, well, this is such not a slow moving chart, but you know, one or two bars can really drastically move this chart. But look at where the price was rejected that first time, right in the middle of the actual support and resistance point. Now there's a name for this. I'm not going to share it now, but there's a name for this, and there's a way to figure this out. This isn't actually where it exactly is, but there's a way to figure this out, and that would take another hour, and it would take, I do this with people I coach, but if you understand this, then your exits are a lot more reliable, I should say. So you'll see here it's starting to maybe create another base. So the decision you can make right now, right? Now we would have already been out of this trade happily in the green, right? But we can do one or two things at this point in time. Let's say that we said, hey, let's give it a little bit more room. Maybe we did that one where we said before, right? Hey, if it trails back here, I'll look at it, I'll exit, right? We'll exit for a little bit less profit. You know, we'll be, you know, at the 2 or 3% line, right? We'll do that. We're still doing that, right? What are we looking for now? Okay. It's our bars, our candles. Well, one thing you can look at here as we scroll in is this price here has been rejected twice by the buyers, meaning that it hit here and it was rejected, hit here and it was rejected. Now here, this price level was rejected by the sellers. So it was rejected. But the buyers still said, you know what? I think this is going to go higher. I think this is going to go higher, right? Keep in mind, low volume, so you know it's not like there's people out there excited lining up at the door to get this stuff right now, right? What's happening right now as we sit in the first hour of price action is that so far it actually did test a higher price. So, you know, and it's kind of trending, well, in a small trend, you could say, a little bit up. So what would be a positive sign to stay in this trade potentially? Well, number one, the price action here is so small. I mean, not the price action. Yeah, the price movement is so small, right? So you'd like to see a bigger price action to the upside, right? And there's ways to figure this out here right now to kind of like look at this. I mean, I can look at it right now and kind of see. Once again, it can go either way. I'm just as happy to take profit now. So to me, we're down to 6.3% profit, no longer 8%. So I'm happy with the 6.3% profit, and we would probably exit half our position, and then what we would do is see if the other half would rise up to another exit. The other thing that we would do is we put a trailing stop loss here on this using a tool that you'll find in the description. So we put a trailing stop loss, and then we would trail it from this point. We would trail it from 4% or 2% from this point. So we'd look at the current price. We'd probably do it from this point here. So we do it from 2% from this resistance point. We'd put a trailing stop loss, meaning that as the price rose up, there'd be a trailing stop loss that would stop us out of this trade 2%. And then we would put a profit target, and that profit target would have a deviation of 1 or 2. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's what we'd probably do just to finish out this trade. And then we would come back and look at it again if it didn't exit out and see kind of what happened. 1 or 2 things are going to happen, basically. It's going to trade here and not hit our profit point and trade sideways, and we're not going to be stopped out, so then we're still kind of in the trade. Or it's going to reach our exit, or it's going to reach our stop loss. That's the 3 things that can happen, right? So that's probably what we'll do. We'll exit 50% of the position right now, and then let the other 50% give us additional profit, hopefully, or stop us out. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully this video helped. Once again, the whole point of this is like when you're in an active trade and you want to check up on those trades and really kind of look at the situation, right? And so I'll just end the video with one final kind of note, kind of so you know where we're at. It's not that far from what we talked. I mean, it's 6 o'clock here. It's 7 o'clock in Moscow. It's later, obviously, and it's now kind of a little bit later on the West Coast. So, and you might see some afternoon action on the Asian side. So usually around this time, a little bit later, you're going to start seeing some afternoon volume kick up. Usually is what happens. People get back from lunch, people get back from doing whatever, and then they're back sitting, looking at charts, seeing what happened, and then you'll see volume tick up. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's clear. Any questions, down below you'll see links to our Discord group. You also see links to Twitter, see links to tools that I use. And any questions, you can join the Discord group and ask questions. I call out trades. I also call out Bitcoin, usually price action, where we're making entries and stuff like that. I'll see you in the next video.